welcome everybody to our very first episode of Down the Barrel. We're actually doing it. I can't believe it. It's been a dream of mine in Hollywood for a very long time, and I'm glad to see it come to fruition. I'm Benjamin Scorp Young. I am the CVMA Wisconsin State Webmaster, and I'm part of CVMA 45.3. This podcast is for us, It's for combat vets. We traded scars on the battlefield, and now we're riding hard, doing what we love. With me today are two familiar names that all of you guys know, but we're going to give them a little introduction anyways. Go ahead, Theo.
All right, what's up, fam? It's Hollywood here, Theo Williams. I am currently your state rep. Like Scorp said, glad to finally launch this podcast. We've talked about it for, a year or two. So kind of our goal with this is to talk about stuff that is relevant to us, bring us closer as a state, so I'm hoping that you guys will tune in and watch. Glad to be here.
Cool. Thanks, man. Jake, Why don't you go ahead, brother?
Yeah, I'm Jacob Spangenberg Sandspider, your state secretary. Sure, most of you know me. I keep things on track, make sure we don't run out of gas down the road, making sure the paperwork's getting done, and we all keep doing those things that we need to do to support each other.
Cool. Hey, Hollywood, why don't you take us around the state, man?
All right. So July, my fault. It's June. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But coming up later this month, we've got our nationals. As everybody knows, maybe by the time you'll see this, nationals will be here and gone. Hope everybody enjoyed, or hope everybody is going to enjoy them. But for July, we've got a couple of our chapters have a few sanctioned events. Starting out with Dash 2, they're hosting their Freedom Fest up in Chippewa Falls, July 12th. So hope to see you guys there. And then down in the south, our Milwaukee chapter, Dash 1, is holding their 10th annual poker chip run. That's going to take us all around southern Wisconsin, get out for some good riding there. That's heading out on July 19th, which is the week after the HD Homecoming. So if you guys are down around, look us up. Everybody will be everywhere, if you will, between all the Harley dealerships. I understand that some of you may not ride Harley Davidsons, but it doesn't really matter, just as long as you're on too. And then to round out July, our Lakefront chapter, Dash 7, is having their River Rat run, which formerly was their Lakeshore run, but they redubbed it after one of their members that passed last year. And that is July. I apologize. That is July. Get there. We're gonna have to edit that out, buddy. Okay. I wrote it, but then I don't know where it went.
26th.
20. I didn't scroll down far enough. July 26th. So you can do some great editing.
I'm gonna leave this all in, buddy.
I mean, it shows the human side. Nobody's perfect, right? So
it's true.
I'm good with it. So note to all the other chapters, let us know what you guys are doing. As always, as we say always, update our state calendar, cvmawi.org, and we'll go from there. All right?
Cool. Jake, what do you got for the administrative minute?
Yeah, first off, all chapter secretaries are really working hard processing applications. So I apologize. Sometimes there's a little delay in applications, especially like life member applications. Please just keep in mind that it does take some time to get this stuff through. They're also working to not only get them done in a timely manner, but also advocating for some of the applicants. Sometimes there are issues that come up that are unforeseen, or issues that we may get something kicked back from the national level. So just have a little patience with us when it comes to that stuff. After our national meeting, we will have a new national secretary and national president. So that means that things are kind of up in the air. I anticipate changes that'll happen with policies when it comes to applications, with how applications are processed, things like that. Just don't know what that's going to look like yet. I'll probably know about the same time but we'll kind of go through this together.
Cool. Thanks, man. All right, so let's get into the meat of this conversation. I think today we wanted to cover a couple of topics. I think we're going to start with some mental health discussion. You know, mental health is serious around the military community. It affects all of us in one way or another, whether we want to admit it or not. You know, unfortunately, it has a bad tone or a bad stigma in the military, where if you have mental health, you kind of get ignored. But let's take a serious moment and talk about it. Mental health isn't just a buzzword for us; it's life or death. We've lost way too many already to suicide. Veteran suicide is a serious thing, and we all have been touched by it in one way or another. So I don't know, man. What is mental health, or how important it is to actually go and be around your brothers and talk about that? What do you guys think?
If you don't mind, I'll jump in here. So I will tell you. So I served in the late '90s, or well, in the '90s, I'll say. And once I got out, I was kind of lost, to be 100% honest. People that have known me for 20 plus years, they say they've seen the change in me. Back when my mental health, I didn't know that my mental health wasn't good. I thought I was just living, just completely being reckless, like 100% reckless. And then once I found CVMA, it actually allowed me to. I found that brotherhood, that common goal, that common mentality and whatnot, and it actually helped me in my life, in my relationship, in my world. And it's a crazy thing to realize that you don't know you miss it until you realize that you missed it. It's a weird way to say it, but that's the only thing I can think of. Because in those 10, 15 years after I got out, I didn't know that I was missing it. I was just like, okay, well, I did that, and now I'm just going to do whatever comes to mind, no, no compass, if you will. But realizing the power of brotherhood, the power of sisterhood. Um, I can tell that when I'm disconnected from CVMA or any other veteran organizations, I do feel myself start to slip sometimes. Um, and then once I get around them, it recenters me and refocuses me. So that's why I love to get out. I love to be all around anything that has to do with my fellow brothers and sisters. So
Yeah, it's so funny that you talk about that, because I was the same way. Coming out of the military in 2015 and then joining CVMA in 2020. I had that 5 year span where I honestly I was lost. Like I had no idea that I actually needed this. I mean, I was probably on the very close to the brink. I was drinking really heavily. I didn't know how to function throughout my day. And honestly, CVMA saved my life. Being around brothers and talking about what we talk about. I mean, all of us have seen shit. We've all been through some shit. But it's like being around those people that know what you've been through, and you can be in complete silence with your brothers at just hanging out, and we all just know.
mhm.
What about you, Jake? What kind of drove you here?
That's a long story. Um, so I was in the National Guard for 20 years. So I wasn't really active duty except for a deployment to Iraq and Kuwait. We lost 3 guards in our unit. One of my best friends was hit by an IED. Some PTSD that I didn't realize was PTSD at the time. Actually took a long time, and this brotherhood here for me to realize that I was struggling too. Um, really struggled when I came home from Iraq. Divorce and a bunch of crap, money problems, all that fun stuff. And actually, I was had a medical procedure that I had to get done, and I had a friend who I just kind of connected with. We were deployed together. We kind of knew who each other were, but we weren't actually friends. Took me to the medical appointment, and we started to talk and hang out more often. So another veteran, kind of understand. We went through the same shit, and then hung out with him for a while. And then my brother died from suicide. He was a combat vet and had 2 tours in Iraq, and that hit hard, and he was helping me through that, the brotherhood thing. And then 6 months later, he died of a heart attack at 42. So after that, I was feeling freaking lost as hell. My mental health started to decline significantly again. Just by happenstance, I had gotten a motorcycle again. I had a motorcycle for years before that and had to sell it for financial reasons because of all the crap that I was dealing with after deployment. And got a motorcycle again, started riding again, and saw the ride. Actually, it was the state ride up to the motorcycle memorial in Door County, and just rode with you guys and asked what I needed to do to join. And ever since then, my life has completely changed for the better. It's about hanging out. You don't always have to talk about all the serious shit, but I struggle with some of the people who don't show up very often, just because I'm worried about them, because I don't know about them, but for me, I need to be around you guys and hang out and talk and just shoot the shit and just be stupid.
Right.
I've had my own struggles with mental health. I think everybody who's a veteran does. And I know when I was growing up, I was always told, if you're going to cry, I'll give you something to cry about, dust yourself off, keep going, right? That type of crap. And now I realize that I'm older, that it's so important to allow yourself to feel some of that stuff and to figure out a way to work through it. And a brotherhood like this is a great way to do that.
Why do you guys think it's so hard for vets to reach out? Do you think it's like ingrained in us in the military? Like, if you have a mental health issue, you're just a weak body and a weak link in the chain, or do you think it's something more serious? I mean, especially since once you get out, like there's all these services out there for us, but why is it so hard for us to go seek that help?
Well, I mean, I think, and how do I say without sounding? I think for male veterans, it's very difficult for us to reach out for help because it was perceived, and some of us were grew up in a society where men don't ask for help. They just do what they need to do and drive on. And it's that feeling of being possibly of being shunned or not thinking you're good enough or something. And that goes for all veterans, I think. I personally, it's one of those things for me personally, it's one of those things that I know that it could help me, but to be honest, I'm probably a little scared. If I'm being 100% honest, I'm a little scared, and sometimes it's hard. It's hard to talk about your emotions, your inner feelings. What at first seems to be a complete stranger, right? It's difficult to kind of just bare your soul, right?
I think that's a huge part of that, Hollywood. I'd like to add, though, that one, we think that vulnerability is weakness. To talk about this stuff is showing that we're weak and we're afraid of judgment, but I think we're more afraid of judgment of ourselves, right? I should be able to man up. I should be able to do this. This shouldn't be an issue. And I think some of the other problem is I don't want to be a burden on other people. I don't want them to have to deal with my stuff because I'm struggling dealing with my stuff. I don't want you to have to do it too. And I think what people don't understand is that when you reach out, it gives that other person some meaning and purpose to their life too, that they can be there and sit with you. They're not going through it. They can't fix the problems for you, but just being able to sit there and be there with that person, it kind of builds that trust, and you can get help getting through it. I mean, none of us learn how to do anything without somebody teaching us. I think other people being there to help teach us how to navigate some of this stuff is important. You just have to reach out to.
Yeah, it's so interesting because in my civilian life, I feel very like this part of me, this military side of me, is kind of hidden away from everybody. But when I'm around my brothers at any event, I always feel like I can be my true self around you guys,
Right.
because you guys, exactly to your point, Jake, you guys don't judge me. And I think for my mental health personally, that's been probably one of the best things. Like I don't have to feel like I have to be somebody else around you guys.
That's a good point, Scorp. It's one of those things that I don't realize until you just said that is true. At work, I'm whatever position I hold, and that's, yes, they know I was in the military, but I can't talk in a meeting like I do at a meeting for CVMA, right? You have to. It is that you can let those walls down and just be yourself, right? And it it is therapeutic, as oddly and easily as it sounds. Just be yourself and it'll be therapeutic. It is, because you know, in the civilian world, people don't get, in the civilian corporate world, people don't get some of our humor, some of our jokes, and our antics, if you will. You know,
I don't
you
know what
know,
you're talking about there, Hollywood.
there's no antics going on, right? Yeah, no, no. But I think what we've said here today, it's a portion of it's true for every CVMA member across the organization, some to some degree. So
Oh, yeah, have you guys ever had a moment where like either someone checking in on you in the CVMA? Like, I mean, I'll tell you honestly, the messages that you, me, and Diggity share, that chat that we share every once in a while when it goes dark, but then all of a sudden it comes back, and you know that that chat, like, hey brothers, how you doing, like that grounds me or brings me to a level of anxiety or whatever you want to call it back down to where, like, okay, these I know these dudes actually do care about me.
yeah,
So I
oh
mean,
yeah.
have you guys ever had that moment where checking in on you or you checking in on somebody actually made the difference?
I'll let you go, Jake.
So a couple things with that. I don't know why, but one night I was um, laying in bed and I was trying to fall asleep and struggling to fall asleep. There's a Hawks for Hero recipient, veteran as well, who I knew had been struggling and stuff. So I'm like, you know what? I'll just reach out and just ask him how he's doing. And he responded. He's like, I really appreciate that. That means more than you think it does to me. Also, when like after our veteran suicide awareness ride, it's so emotional for me, difficult for me to kind of do, and usually takes me a week to recover from that. Constantly have people reaching out to me, asking if I'm okay, if I need anything, if I need to chat. And sometimes I take them up on it, sometimes I don't. But that means so much to me to be able to have people to lean on, even if I don't need to lean on them now. But
Hmm.
just knowing that other people are there is really helpful.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Sometimes it's that out of the blue. Um, we all go through our daily struggles, our daily burdens, but especially during the winter months, um, where we're not out riding, we're not out doing events or being sociable because we live in Wisconsin and it's cold as hell out, right? But to get that random text like, "Hey, are you good?" Like, to be honest, I just got one earlier today, and even though I was fine, just knowing that somebody else out there is like, "Hey, what's going on with this guy?" Like, that means the world, and it makes you pause, and it's like, okay, I got this. I can do what I need to do. You know, I've reached out to a few people, and it's like, dude, like, thank you for that texting, even if it was, hey, I know you were going through something a while ago. Are you good with it or whatever? Just that random check in. I can't stress it enough. If you've got somebody that you hold dear, or even an acquaintance that you may have run across, just reach out. Like, hey, it doesn't have to. Don't expect some big long conversation, but if it does, great. But just the fact of that one text message could be the difference, right?
Right.
You never know, right?
Right. And I think that kind of brings us into like the next topic, I guess, is like, what does that actually mean uh, as a brother to have somebody six? We say it all the time, like, hey, I got your six, I got your six,
Hmm.
but it's got to be deeper than just words. So what does that actually mean to tell somebody? Like for me, especially in the CVMA, man, I really do feel like people do have my six. Like you guys are looking out for me.
Hmm.
And maybe that's what a lot of veterans are missing in their lives. Once they get out, they kind of go squirrel away into a hole. And I know we all did it. Uh, so it's like find that group of people. It doesn't have to be the CVMA, it doesn't have to be the VFW, but you definitely should find a group of veterans who definitely understand what that means to have your six. So what is that to you guys when it comes to like veteran mental health and stuff?
Jake, you want to take that? Or you want me to jump in?
For me, it's always being willing to be there as a chapter chaplain for a period of time. It was, you know, I know somebody has something going on, always reaching out and making sure you're staying in contact with people. I mean, there was one time I had to stay on the phone for literally all night with somebody. It's doing whatever you need to do to help each other out. Even if I have to call in sick the next day for work. Okay,
Right.
I'm going to do that because your life is more important than my day at work. Those types of things. The whole non-judgmental, right? Not being judgmental of each other, just listening, sitting there with you, offering resources if you want them, being willing to just do whatever it takes to help with whatever that other person is struggling with.
Right. I mean, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like your PTSD or what you went through in the military. Honestly, it's like what's going on in your life, brother, that I can unburden from you, you know?
Right. Like, there's been a lot of times like through our members chat, like, hey, I'm moving or whatever, nobody, I don't know of anybody that really likes to move stuff, especially being in the military, the every 2 year rotation, of moving, but just, hey, I have to move. I need some help, just knowing that. I think being able to, like Jake said, to be there for you, whatever that need is at that time, knowing that you got guys that you can count on. Guys, when I say guys, I mean persons, anyone. Just knowing that you've got people that you can call, regardless of what it is, regardless time of day, or night,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
Across
So,
miles. If I live in the bottom of the state, you live in the top of the state. Well, let's figure it out. Let's, like, you know,
right. I mean, like even this format, I know we're doing this podcast for everybody so they can get to know, but like even this has been at some level just talking to you guys, even just talking about what we're talking about is mental health relief for me, just talking about mental health, you know?
right. Yeah.
Shit, I appreciate you bringing me onto this podcast. I know it was kind of both of yours brainchild, but man, just sitting there, even after our freaking meetings for a half hour and just shooting the shit, man,
Yeah.
that's helping my mental health right
Yeah.
So yeah, my wife calls it the meeting after the meeting usually, but it's we deal with the business that we have to deal with, and then we can just shoot the shit. You can be Ben, I can be Theo, you can be Jake. We can just talk about whatever we want to talk about. That's therapy. I leave our virtual meetings, our in-person meetings, with just a sense of, just a good feeling inside, that I didn't have going into, those are the things that I live for, and I can say I only get that feeling from CVMA. So,
Yeah, or even just being on two wheels, like when we went down to Manitowoc to plan out last year's state meeting,
yeah,
when we met up on that overpass to
right,
ride down there together and then like riding around to the location, like just being on two wheels with you guys. Like I know being on a motorcycle period is some form of mental health relief, they call it, wind therapy,
right,
but like I I do love being on a motorcycle, but I love being on my motorcycle more when I'm around you guys.
yeah, no doubt.
now. One
Go
thing I
ahead.
want to add to that is it's really therapeutic for our spouses as well. Shit, I've seen a huge change in my wife since we joined as well, and just riding together and riding in. Well, she likes to call it motorcycle gangs. We're obviously not that, but it just feels like you feel like right. You're just surrounded by these people that care about each other and have each other's backs, that type of thing, and it's huge for her as well. So got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, no, seriously. I mean, and the Ox has their own. It's so funny because I hear Stephanie say all the time, uh, you know, I love my CVMA family. I love my Ox family, you know, and I know they have their own chat that they go and they talk about whatever it is they talk about. I know it's a bunch of silly stuff half the time,
They're
but
talking
so is
shit
ours.
about us, it.
right. Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
my
are.
husband's an idiot or whatever. But I really do think it's therapy not just for us, but for them as well, because they also get to let their hair down at our events. The kids aren't there. if you got small children, they get to be themselves too.
Well, I think, I'm not, obviously, I'm not going to speak for my wife or any of the auxiliary. I think it's one of those kind of like for us veterans, it's like, okay, we've been through the same stuff to where our spouses, they've, they've been, they've gone through the same thing with us. So I think they bond that way. But to make on your point about, meeting up and riding together, um, there's nothing like it when we ride together. Like I've ridden solo, I've ridden just with others like civilian friends. I feel like when we ride together with you get a bunch of CVMA, it's like we're in formation, or it's like we're in formation going through a battlefield. Really,
Yeah.
it's insane. I've been on a ride before where a civilian that just happened to be on the ride, they said it's crazy to ride with you guys because there's not a lot of, obviously when you're out on the road, you're not talking to people or whatnot. It's a head nod. It's a point here, and the entire group just does that. It's like it's amazing to watch. I'm like, I don't I don't know. We speak a common language. We have common mannerisms, so I
Yeah, or the fist bumps when you're riding next to somebody, and they'll just come up and give you that fist bump while you're
right.
riding. Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, or that. Right.
There's a lot of jackassery that goes on our rides, but it's
Yes.
jackassery we all love.
Right, right. It's what makes it special to all of us, I think, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
definitely for sure good.
But definitely, if any of you guys out there are struggling with mental health, 988, it's the Veterans Crisis Line nationwide. Save it, love it. If you
Right,
need help and you can't get a hold of a brother, that Veterans Crisis Line is there for us.
for sure.
Uh, I did want to let you guys know that CVMA during what was it, last year's state meeting, Theo, that we kind of picked up a sponsorship with I don't know if I really want to call it a sponsorship, but a partnership, I guess, with Cardo Systems, and they help us stay connected in a pack or on a wild ride. So if any of you guys want to visit cardosystems.com, you can use code CVMA Wisconsin for a discount, and we do appreciate that if you guys went and bought your gear through Cardo. I think they make great headsets.
Yes, they do.
All right, let's talk bikes. I just swapped out my audio on my bike. Now I can actually just hear the tunes at highway speed instead of just the loud rumbling of my pipes, which I do love. But it
And
is
they're
also
loud.
great. It is also great to hear some audio to go along with it. So what do you guys got going on with your motorcycles? What have you done?
Don't ride behind Scorp. You're not going to hear your own music.
Right. Whether it be his pipes or his music. So I ride a 2020 Road Glide Special. It's dubbed the Coach Stagecoach. I have full audio, like it's kind of ridiculous in there. It's one of those audio.
You're a rolling boombox, bro.
Yes, I have a rolling radio, basically. I mean, you saw my costume at the state meeting. This is with my big radio. I'm a big fan of LL Cool J. No, but you know, I'll tell you that I don't know why, but obviously 10, 15 years or 20 years ago, back when car audio was big, I had a car audio system, and then it got stolen from me. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm not spending any more money on stereos. Then I bought a motorcycle and saw like, oh, well, you can do that to a motorcycle. That's all I needed. That's all I
And,
needed.
and your
Yeah,
and your stereo is completely exposed. It's super easy to steal now.
right, right. You know, uh, yeah. So I think I'm pushing about 7,000 watts on my system right now. 7,000. That's with three
Man,
zero.
I was excited to get up to 500 watts.
Oh, yeah, no, no.
Yeah,
But
and I'm here with a frickin' Road King, so I don't have the big fairings or anything, which actually I like. I like the old school look and stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, I just got a little tiny speaker and on my handlebars. Actually, it works pretty nice as a Kirkin. So anybody who doesn't have like a big fairings and stuff, it's a little pricey. It's like $450 or something, but I can actually hear it on the highway. So as long as I'm not behind Scorp or freaking Hollywood with their music. It does work pretty well, but I'm kind of more for the ride than the music. I like the music. I love the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
do you
get.
guys think? What do you guys think about that new $110,000 CVO that Harley came out with at the beginning of the year?
I don't know who's dude. When are you gonna ride that thing? Like, if I bought $110,000 motorcycle, I would be afraid to ride it.
I honestly,
Like
Yeah,
like buying $10,000 car. I mean, would you ever really want to freaking drive that either?
right.
yeah,
But I mean, she's pretty. She's nice to look at. She goes down the road pretty quick.
it's funny that you say that because there's a lot of Harley came out with their ADV bike, the Pan America, a couple
Hmm.
of years ago, and it was so funny how many people love. I mean, it's a cool bike. I've ridden one. I think it rides really good, but
Hmm.
it's very expensive for an ADV bike, and it's like there's a lot of guys that buy that bike that I don't know that they really want to take it out and get it dinged up on country or on off roading it.
Yeah, I was I thought the bike looked weird at first, and then a friend of mine actually had it. He's like, "Go take it for a ride." I was like, "I don't even know how to get on this thing." Right? Like, I'm
It doesn't help that you're 4 feet tall.
what am I, a dwarf now? So he's like, dude, you step onto it and over. I was like, dude, that's weird. So I did it, and it's great, and fucking feet are fucking dangling, right? But it's fun. God, it's a fun bike, and the fact that you can basically take it anywhere, and he does take it anywhere and everywhere. Um, I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, you're right. Like, it's expensive to know that you could, a tree branch can freaking dent or whatever, right? Like,
Oh
ripping
man,
through,
yeah,
right? But if you're into adventure biking, yeah, why not?
yeah. I mean, and that's his own world. Like
Yeah.
guys that ride ADVs, like those guys to me are crazy, man. Like I love that they go everywhere, literally everywhere, and they're not afraid to push their bike. But I don't know that I could spend 40 grand on a motorcycle and go take it right off road.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy an ATV. Like, I'll just buy an ATV.
Yeah,
I'll just
right.
go out and buy an ATV or a
Yeah, like it,
UTV. Like, I don't know when the ATV and the UTV. I don't know the difference. I just know the four wheel thing. That's you do that with.
it's way easier in my mind to justify damage to a $5,000 ATV than it is to a $40,000 motorcycle.
Yeah, yeah,
I do
facts.
want to say, so my wife got her license recently, and we actually just bought a bike. It's a Nightster.
Yeah, Nightster Special, right? She got a Nightster
She got a
Special.
Nightster Special, and
Yeah.
Nice.
they were very reasonably priced. Um, and like has a lot of bells and whistles that I'd never expect. It has the specials actually have the cruise control on it.
Oh
They have
wow.
a digital display that shows RPMs, it shows gear. She can play her music and it'll notify her when she has a text message. She can't read it. Oh, thank God. That type of stuff.
Yeah, but you have one, right?
Like speedometer, it's just a circle, but it has all this different bells and whistles on it too. So it's kind of cool and very reasonably priced. So if you're looking for something a little less expensive for a Harley, that's probably a good way to go to.
Yeah, and it's a great starter bike. Like for somebody who just got their motorcycle license, wants to get out, feel the open road. I feel like a Nicer Special, a Scout, even like a Honda Rebel or the Shadow, like any of those under 1,000 cc bikes or up to 1,200 cc's are like real decent beginner bikes. What I don't think somebody should do is just come right out of motorcycle school and go jump on a freaking road glide and go try and figure out how to tame that beast.
They,
That's what I did. That's what I
I'm
did.
not saying people can't do it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying you probably shouldn't do it.
you probably
they
should do
my
it.
wife is
Well,
afraid to
so
ride my Road King right now. She doesn't even. She's like, it's too heavy. I don't know how to maneuver it. I'm gonna start with something a little smaller just so I get the feel of it. Just totally makes sense.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I jumped out right from school and I bought a street glide. Now, granted, it's been sideways a few times, but yeah, to that point. But it's one of those where that's the bike I wanted. So, um, but yeah, no doubt.
I mean, I started out on a CBR 250R, you know, Like when we were in Tennessee and I just got my license, Stephanie was like, "You're going to kill yourself on a motorcycle." So the first bike we had was a CBR 250, and I'll tell you what, as light and nimble as that bike was, like learning the fundamentals of riding, that's where it happened. And it was a fun bike for like 6 months, and then I got bored with how slow it was, and it had no juice behind it, you know. But to go from that, and then we got a 600, and then traded that in for the Scout, and taking the Scout cross country to Wyoming was one of the stupidest things that I could have ever done, because that was insane. Going through South Dakota and having 60-mile-an-hour winds rushing across the plains and feeling like you're going to get blown off into oblivion, that sucked, man. And then riding it all the way to Utah after Wyoming, that was also like, I'm going to run out of gas. I'm going to run out of gas. I'm going to run out of gas.
Yeah.
What other bikes have you owned? Or has it always been the Road Glide?
No, my first one was a Street Glide.
Okay.
So I've been riding since 2017, and my first bike was the 2012 Street Glide. I had always wanted. It's one of those where I'd always wanted a motorcycle, but life had it to where it wasn't in the cards. And then I almost bought I don't even know what, but it was a sport bike. The guy let me ride it. I think I ran into a dumpster. And then I was like, all right, maybe bikes aren't for me. And then another friend of mine a couple years later let me ride his, I think it was a Dyna. And I could kind of get the handle for that. And that's kind of when I kind of fell in love with Harley, just because that's the bike that I could ride. My dad was a big Goldwing guy, so he was like, why do you want that Harley? And I was like, dude, because that's just what I want. Right? So, but yeah,
it's funny how many buttons are on a Goldwing, man.
Dude, the thing's a spaceship. Well, he doesn't have it anymore, but it was a spaceship, and it was lit up like one too. Like, it had buttons for everything, right?
I mean, to AC, turn on the nut cooler.
Dude, everything. It's like literally you're in, like, I don't know, the fucking Millennium Falcon or some shit. Like, click, click, click.
They're cool bikes though. Like and especially the new ones, they look pretty sharp. I'm not gonna lie, they look like a rocket ship from behind. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt.
I think Honda has really put a lot of thought into the styling of the bike, so it doesn't look like an old man's bike anymore.
Yeah, no doubt.
What about that new Elite that Indian just came out with? Their is it the?
I just saw one a week ago or so. I was at a dealership, not Action, but they actually own Action. I don't know. In West Bend, and they had one of those the emerald green Elite thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, those Challenger Elites are pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think there's only he only said like 350 or 250 of them made. I was like, man, look here. But it makes no sense to have two touring bikes. I tried that when I bought my Road Glide. I tried to keep my Street Glide, but the Street Glide sat. I was like, that'll just be my around town bike.
With how old you are, Hollywood, I'm surprised you don't have a trike already.
The wife has the trike. Yeah. No, not yet. Not yet. My bone's still, I can still hold it up.
What about the Can-Am? You guys think that's a motorcycle?
I have never thought it's a motorcycle, but I guess there's the argument that if a trike, if you have two wheels in the back and one in the front, what's the difference to have two in the front and one in the back?
True. It doesn't have a steering wheel, so there you go.
That's true. It doesn't.
It doesn't have a steering wheel.
Have you ever ridden one? No. I've always wanted to go down to the dealership and just take like the Riker, like their sporty one out, and just see how that feels.
I've seen that there's a couple of people in my neighborhood that have them. I'll see them going down the road. I'm like, dude, to me, it just seems weird because you're sitting like you're in a car, but you're not in a car. It just, I can't wrap my head around how that would feel, right? Like, I just saw a guy today. He was sitting there, he had his goggles on, just, yeah. it's weird.
One thing to note: a Can-Am, you can qualify for CVMA membership. That you do not qualify. And I've had applications come through and are like, yeah, this doesn't qualify.
The Riker, why is it? Because it's too small, or what?
Isn't
Or are
that
you
the
talking?
car with
Are
the
you?
tire? Or
No, you're talking about the Polaris.
oh, the Polaris. Okay.
Yeah,
The slingshot.
the
Yeah,
slingshot.
slingshot.
Slingshot
That's what it
doesn't
was.
qualify.
My mistake.
Gotcha. Yeah, and the slingshot's crazy because you have to have. Well, I know when it first came out, you had to have the M endorsement, but your insurance companies looked at it as a sports car. Like it's the weirdest thing, but it does have the steering wheel. I mean, some of them have doors, right? But I mean, I call it the pod racer because in case you're, I'm a Star Wars guy. Many of you know, so there's a lot of Star Wars references and things I say and do. But
it does look like a pod racer
it
for
does.
sure, though,
Anakin,
dude.
Anakin's got every time I see one, I just
It's
a whole pod race,
working.
right?
It's working.
Right? Well, every time
For
I see
sure,
one.
man. So Hollywood, moving into our next segment, what you guys had your Veterans Memorial Ride? Is that right? How'd that go?
Yep. So, beginning of this month, my chapter 456 out of Economolog, we had our D-Day Remembrance Ride. It was this year's weather was really nice. I think it was like close to 70 degrees, sunny day. I want to say we had about altogether probably about 100, somewhere around 100 bikes that came out. So that was really good. That was really good to see. It's crazy how in Wisconsin, how weather can make or break your event. A year ago, it was just a constant downpour, and we probably had maybe 20 bikes. So our ride, we go through, we visit area VFWs and Legions. So we went to Okachi Legion, um, West Bend, Hubertus, Hartford, and Menominee Falls, and then back to New Berlin. Um, VFW. We started out of Wisconsin Harley Davidson out of Oconomowoc, which is kind of a destination dealership. They've got a very, very well thought out uh, area. They're very welcoming. That dealership has done a lot for not only my chapter, but just veterans in general. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that not all Harley Davidsons do anything for veterans, but that one happens too. I guess it depends on um, ownership and whatnot. Not knocking them, but I have me as a veteran. Sometimes I've gone into and asked, um, is there anything for it? And if not, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but sometimes I feel some type of way. But all in all, our ride was very well done. It was an on your own ride. Like I said, I want to say there's maybe 5 different groups. Um, I heard some really good comments. It was a great day, nice ride, nice way to be out of the city, but not too far out of the city, if you will. Sometimes you can get on those rides and you can just 100% get lost. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, we've all just got on our bikes and just head get to this intersection, turn right, turn left. Which one do I do? Coin flip, right? Um, but all in all, I think it was a really good ride. And like I said, it was for D-Day. Um, our ride was on the 7th. D-Day obviously is on the 6th, June 6th. One of our members actually in the last year actually went to Normandy, and he donated some sand from Normandy Beach and a bracelet to one of the members on one of the people on the ride. So that was really touching and really nice. Um, so not saying we can do that every year, but it was kind of nice as this was the first year that we made that remembrance to D-Day. So, but yeah.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad you guys that it turned out good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that the ride went really good. I only heard good things about it.
Yep, and I want to say that we had members from 4 or 5 different chapters around the state that came down. So that
That's
was
awesome.
really nice. It's really nice when we go out and support our other brothers and sisters throughout the state. That's we kind of talked earlier about, getting together, that brotherhood and whatnot. Why does it only have to be during, annual meetings or annual conventions that we see each other? We're all in the same state. Let's just hop on the bike and go ride and support each other.
For sure. Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap on episode 1 of Down the Barrel. Congratulations, guys. We did it. We made it through.
Right.
I want to put a plug in here. Make sure you guys subscribe to CVMA Wisconsin on YouTube. That's where this is going to be at. We'll share it on the CVMA Wisconsin members Facebook page. Let us know what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, what you want to hear. We're going to try and do this more often based on your guys' feedback. Ride safe out there. Never forget what we're doing this for. This is for our brothers and for our sisters and for our CVMA family. All right. Thanks, guys, and we will catch you next time.
Take care of each other.
Deuces. Stay up. Take it easy, guys.